It must be time for Katunkwit Chronicles. We heard the bubbles and the fanfare and the wave. And I'm here with none other than Ashlyn Komorek, the Woman of the Year, apparently. That was a good reward you received.
What reward was that?
Well, there was a group of us that put together a little award for you last week. You were, unfortunately, not available to receive it. Yeah, we did. So are you, hey, did you spoke to me earlier as we were walking in, you said something about someone that you knew, perhaps peripherally, that may have not an understanding of which direction is east and that the sun comes up in the east and sets in the west.
Yes, I heard this from somebody else, actually, and we discussed, like, how could that possibly be? But I think that we're very in tune with where the sun rises and sets and so on, especially because we're on an island.
Mm.
And that possibly, if you lived in a city or something where you didn't necessarily see the horizon, that maybe it would never come up. I mean, I would have to think you would know this from reading books and watching TV.
Yeah, that might be the problem.
But no, I mean, I think if you paid attention to those things, that has to come up in literature. And
yes, but I'm suggesting that there might not have been any books read, perhaps.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant that they were watching too much TV.
Oh, well, there's probably references to the sun rising in the east and setting in the west on television.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so, I don't know. Is there an excuse for not knowing that?
I must have learned it from Scooby-Doo or one of those programs.
Yeah, I mean, I know there are many people
Leave It to Beaver.
Who can't tell you which direction is east and west, like in a building. Like in this building, I sometimes tell people, oh, it's on the west side, and they look at me like once they're in the building, they have no reference.
Oh, I've come across that too. Yes. I think that there's some merit to being on a boat. You have to know direction.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if it's not something that you use regularly, perhaps it's something to put out of your mind. But if you have to know about the East thing. Yeah. Hey, Bob, I mentioned Leave It to Beaver. Boy, quite an interesting choice for the name of that character, number one. Number two, what were they thinking?
In regards to the name?
Leave It to Beaver. I mean,
that was the nickname.
I know, but there's
Yeah, but I think back then
there wasn't a reference to beaver.
No, I mean people,
and that's actually passed, and rightfully so. I think that's
like now people would laugh at somebody with the name Dick, and it was very common back then.
Okay, well, when we get on that subject, that was interesting. So I had an interesting weekend. We were visiting with friends that all knew someone that had passed, and we did in honor. We went out and did some things that she might like, and we went to the beach. This particular beach in Little Compton. Mm-hmm. Are you aware of it? It's now Town Beach. It used to be called Goose Wing, and had you came at it from a different angle from a farm. When I was kids, I think I've mentioned it before, and I brought the crab nets.
Mm-hmm.
So four of us had crab nets, and we walked down to this area that used to breach. It breaches periodically, and there's a pond back there. It's a salt pond. I don't know how the salt water gets in there, but there are blue crabs in there, and they were there, just as I suspected.
That's good. I mean, you don't see them around here too much anymore.
I know. I'm going to go see if I can find some. However, I didn't realize it, but I've become exceptionally slow.
Slow at catching crabs?
I didn't catch one. They were there. They were really quick. Or I'm slower.
Did you have a net?
I have nets, and I was so tuned up to do this, and all the muscle memory was there, but the quickness was not there. My hands or my reaction to their movement. I used to catch these things by the dozen. I'd come home with a dozen crabs, or it was a bad day. But I couldn't catch any.
So maybe you need to go to the crab trap now.
Oh, I don't want to do that. And some dude was there, and he was just like, I know he knew what he knew about crabbing, but he kept talking about chicken wings, and I just don't think it's a good idea to take something from land like that, the chicken piece, and toss it into the water. And then, it's putrid chicken, right? You throw it into the water. It doesn't belong there, in my opinion. And then the crabs begin to eat it, and then you scoop them up, and now you have putrid chicken in the middle of your crab. I'm not for that, and I'm making a statement right now. Let's ban that.
In Connecticut, we used to go out at night with lights and just net them out of the water, which I think is now legal in Rhode Island, but didn't used to be for a very long time.
There was a whole thing about nighttime crabbing. I think that was illegal.
Yeah, but it's legal in Connecticut, so that's how we used to do it.
We found out that the crabs used to swim up the river a certain time of year, and we put these massively long poles on our crab nets, taped them all together, and we'd stand on the bridge and just scoop them up as they went by. That was kind of fun. Yeah, so lots of crabbing experiences. And the other thing I discovered is that I'm very weak too, because when I was in the water up to my waist, trudging around for an hour, and unsuccessfully, I became fatigued, and I think it's the smoke that's in the air.
That could be.
My eyes are burning. I'm sniffling.
It's a
Are you feeling that too?
Bad air quality. I've seen the haze, but I have not felt.
Have you ever been
affected.
a mountain firefighter woman person?
No.
Fire person?
Not
No.
yet.
Well, that's another thing you can try. But have you been crabbing? Are you a crabber person?
I mean, as I said, we crabbed in Connecticut, but we used a boat at night.
But now, and as you know,
we've caught invasive crabs.
Yes.
And now it's kind of funny because back when my kids were young, they did a project. I don't know if it's funny, but they did a project where they had to do some environmental project, and they won an award for coming up with this idea to make a market for the invasive Japanese shore crabs and for consuming, right? And now, many years later, I've read 2 separate articles about that actually happening. There's one company that takes them and grinds them up and makes them into basically a powdered crab broth. Like you buy it in a powder form, and then you can use it to make all sorts of recipes.
It must be pretty dense with calcium, given that they have a shell.
Yeah, I don't know that it matters once it's ground up, right? You get the flavor. So, I mean, the 2 crabs that are dominant here now are both invasive, the green crab and the Japanese shore crab.
Does it come with a laxative or anything? Because that could be.
When the kids did it, they
did it? Your kids did this?
Did this project back when they were young.
I didn't hear that part.
Oh, that was in the beginning of the story. You were
distracted.
spacing out. So, but what they did is they found that in the Far East, they serve them as bar snacks. And so they get fried up and seasoned, and you just munch on them. They're crunchy. So that's how they served them.
Hey, that's great.
At this competition, although the judges were very impressed, they wouldn't eat them.
Oh.
But they had quite a few of them, which my son had fried up at 6 a.m. And brought to this competition. And there was a kid from another team who found out about this. He ate all of them. He just kept coming back and saying, "Can I have another one?" I mean, it's like they've been sitting here now without refrigeration or anything for hours.
I know there are like 1 trillion of them that we can just pick up tomorrow if we need them. That's a great thought. That's good. I know that like this dude I knew in the 70s when I was fishing, he the mud crab that's out here. They're the size of a small rock crab, but they're not as well renowned. It takes a little bit of work to get meat out of them. They taste great. But he decided that he would create a machine, which he did, where he boiled them and then they go through this crusher thing, and then he found that the meat floated, of course, and the shell sunk.
Yeah, so he
It
was
was
able to
crushed
separate
just
it.
right. He was able to separate it and created a business. That's ingenious. And that was early on, right? So taking a species that wasn't very well considered. And I was reading about the scup, the scup that are prolific now in Narragansett Bay. And people are taking these small fish, these scup, and they've been revered by people from other countries forever. And the scup are actually exported. However, they're bringing it to the local restaurants now and making it taste good. It tastes good to begin with, but they're using them for those things, those Mexican tacos or whatever they are. Not tacos, but the little fish tacos.
Yeah. We had a restaurant which has since gone out of business, but when they first opened, they served something called Silver Snapper, which was just scup.
Scup, yeah.
And they charged a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
They just gave it a new name. But speaking of sending fish overseas, did you know, we are the calamari capital here in Rhode Island, that most of the calamari goes to somewhere in the Far East to be processed because no one here will do it, and then it comes back here. So quite often in a restaurant, when you order a plate of calamari, it's been all the way to the other side of the ocean. You should ask. I bet they don't even know the answer.
They don't know the answer, but I'm concerned that that's the case. That's terrible. Some other species, that are getting some new interest, and given that we have a lot of sea bass now in the area, and I'm not talking about the striped bass, which we also have quite a few of, but sea bass have made this move north, as you know, because of the warming of the water. And now, that's always been a great fish to eat, but now you see it in restaurants. However, I'm still amused that people consider eating tilapia, because you know what that is, right?
It's a fish that's raised in a swimming pool.
And it's eating feces of other fish that are above it. I think not.
Well, I think, of the same species, because they're farming those in giant, things that look like enormous above ground swimming pools.
Soil and green.
Yeah, I don't eat farmed salmon anymore either.
I don't eat farm anything. Excuse me, that's not true. Farmed fish.
Farmed vegetables.
I guess I'm eating some farmed if I have an oyster out, which I never do. I just,
yeah,
get
I don't
myself.
find that so bad.
No.
Because they're not, what they do to the farmed salmon and, it's just gross.
And it's altering the environment where these massive fish populations are balled up in these big pens. Well, it's another thing we have to conquer. Hey, I'm passing that on to the next generation. Another thing we screwed up.
And they're going to be like, thank you very much.
You know the story about thank you very much. We already said that, so we won't say that again. So there's that. What would you do this weekend? Anything that I should be aware of that you can tell people in New Mexico?
Nothing that exciting. What did a little drive or sail by of the Jazz Fest on Saturday?
Yes. Did you get nauseous like I do when I hear jazz?
No.
I mean, it's nothing against.
I don't mind.
Like certain jazz, I certainly can listen to, and I love that. But there's
you might not have liked this. Stuart wasn't a big fan. I described it as jazz meets Star Wars dance hall style. I enjoyed it. It was definitely jazz because you know how jazz is like, it's all over the place, right? But it was very heavy beat. Like he was actually, we could hear him telling he wanted everybody up and dancing. So it wasn't like your traditional mellow jazz that you're just relaxing and listening to.
So he's asking for people to dance.
Yes.
That's like it's kind of pathetic.
No, I mean, they performers.
Oh, they give him permission. Oh, I see, because traditionally you wouldn't. I get it.
No, I mean, at these festivals, sometimes the performers are like, get up, dance, do this.
Clap. Stand on your head.
They're puppet masters.
That's right. So did you anchor or not? Or did you
No,
just
we went over to Miller's Cove and anchored there for a while. I went for a swim. Stuart cleaned the bottom of the boat. I read my book. Then, once we were sort of dried off, we sailed back and went by the Jazz Fest for a few laps.
I have a book you should read. It's really kind of funny. I'm enjoying it.
Is it related to jazz or sailing?
No.
So you just segued
You said
somewhere
book,
else.
so
I said book. Oh, okay. What are you reading?
I can't tell you at this time because I can never remember anything. But it's I think it's called something. It's your book or something. It's about you. I don't know what it is. It's funny. It's a funny book of short stories that this fellow wrote, and he wrote a lot for the New Yorker and other Playboy and all the other magazines that accept short stories, and had many accepted. So he wrote a book of shorts, and they're very funny. And it takes place down in South Carolina. It's good. It's decent.
Nice.
It's similar to what we're doing, but with a lot more humor over here at Katunquit.
Did you get a hold of the book that last week's guest recommended, Tribe?
I did get a hold of the name of it and everything, and I'm that's on my list of things to do. I think not today, not tomorrow, next week. Going to get on that because I have this book to read right now. But Tribe looks real good. Yeah, I think I need to read that by Younger.
Sebastian, is it Younger?
Younger. Yeah, he wrote Jaws, right? No. Perfect Storm.
Benchley.
That was Peter Benchley. Perfect Storm he wrote, and other books. However, this book is really about, our last guest mentioned that it's about the camaraderie and need, the traumatic effects of not being a part of a group after
how that,
after having
I think
experienced
also that the tribe is typically a small size, and how social media and all kinds of media is blowing our minds because our tribe is too big.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. That's what she explained.
That's what she explained. I'm intrigued, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, she was a fun guest.
Yeah,
Very
she was
fun,
great.
and she has more to tell us because we went out for coffee after, which you should have been there for that. Oh my gosh, the stories.
Yeah, you retired people can just go out for coffee.
Oh yeah, that's true. However, we're getting a lot done. I'll have to say that, us retired folks. She's not retired. She just happened to have a day off. All right, so. The other thought was that on Friday, I believe, it was Friday of last, we ventured over to that other island, over to Jamestown, Connecticut, got ourselves into the Narragansett Cafe with about 100,000 other people, seemingly. It was very tight in there, very loud. And we heard the Wright brothers, which was really fun. Got to visit with my friend Dan and his brothers, and they were out there getting it done, playing a lot of the Grateful Dead, which was, really fun to hear them work that stuff. And I really liked it. I would have loved to have been closer, perhaps, or so I could have heard more of it and watched more closely. I was in the back with you and Stuart, and then we had our other friend with us, and. We were
and Eva.
Eva was there, and we're all shuffling around like my shoulders are so big. By the way, I do have large, wide shoulders and a big head. So those of you that don't know me, and I was really struggling to stand.
I was worried about whether we were above the fire limit in that place.
Yeah, there was
The whatever the safe occupancy.
I'm sure they were keeping track.
There
of
were
that
when
safe.
when I
knew
left,
they were.
there was a line of people waiting to get in.
They were tracking it. I know the owner, and he was tracking it closely. And I think they were right at there were members of the fire organization there. I know. So I was visiting, over there, different world, another island, here in Narragansett Bay, and fun to see a group of brothers come together with so much talent and get it done. I think Stuart enjoyed it. I didn't see Ricky. Did he come out?
I think it was all Stuart.
It's all Stuart. And then we went from there to, what'd you do after? Did you go home?
Yeah. You went out after?
I think we were on our bicycles, right?
You said you rode your bike there.
Oh, we came upon some skunks when we returned.
I would imagine, given how you've dealt with skunks in the past, that the skunks ran when they saw you.
As soon as I smell it, I get nauseous now, having been sprayed twice in the face. That said, it was enough trauma for Eva. She was extremely upset and concerned. And then on Sunday, wouldn't you know it, our friends came over with a dog. And I said, as we were arriving, if you're going to go out with the dog, go out the front door on a leash. And mistakenly, he thought there was enough sunlight and not enough opportunity for the skunk to come out at twilight, right? And sure enough, dog got sprayed. Came in the house.
Are they still living under your deck?
No.
These are neighborhood skunks now.
These are skunks that may be living behind the shed or, under the shed, wherever. Neighbor's place in the woodpile. Who knows where they're living. However, I'm not at war with them any longer. I think that's enough. So the reason I ended that commentary was just because I'd started to feel nauseous.
Just talking about it?
Talking about it. The smell of that makes
You might need hypnosis.
Yeah. Well, it's trauma, right? It's just a, low-level trauma, right? Let's face it. It brings me back there to that
or maybe,
story.
Some psilocybin therapy.
Wow. It'll have me tripping before long. So I was going to do a song today, but I chose to turn that around and do read a poem quickly here, because we have a story here that later on we're going to express. We have some BS and we have some other things and commercials that we always do. But I have a poem that's a sort of way back poem, maybe 5-year-old poem that I wrote a long time ago. It's called Yet Never Me. And it's about family. And it's referencing parents. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You raised me on sunshine and calluses, simple raisin wrinkled hand parents. Your ganglion cyst formed awkwardly on your thumb, Dad, at the joint, limiting mobility. And you raised me equally on perception, a magician's deception. You walked down the road of love for me, rounded the sharp corners cautiously. Rainy days, incomplete puzzle, feelings shoved from sight, junk drawers jammed shut, appearance of order. Floors shiny, corners caked, ageless, fridge spotless, full, single metallic short-leashed rotary phone near the sink, extended to the radiator cover, where juvenile heated quiet pronouncements of love and quiet expressions made facing the wall, ruminated like rising heat streams. Percolator coffee pot boil. Round visible noise shone through a glass globe. Brown coffee bubbles. Refined liquid for the purposes of the loquacious. The ladies sipped from English teacups, reveling in overlapping contiguous conversation. Celebrated filler immersed in a sea of pearls. I listened to their hearts. Sheltered naivete, extended examples of hardened perpetual gloom, sorting a lifetime's questions never asked, muted, muddled, mixed, confused life role, played artfully, yet never me. That poem is entitled Yet Never Me.
Okay, I loved how you painted a picture of that time. I can see it all.
Which is what part of that is? It was most picture. Was it the coffee pot with the visible
No, it was
glass?
so first it was like the phone thing, which made me think of like that's gone. Like when we used to like get on the phone or an extension of the phone and be talking to somebody that we liked and sort of whatever, trying to hide somewhere in the house where nobody could
Did your
overhear.
mother listen in?
I have no idea. If she did, she was pretty sneaky. But in any case, now with the cell phone, you could go anywhere. You could go hide in the woods. You could go in, nobody can listen in, right?
That's what you think.
Well, yes, everybody's listening in, but your immediate family is not listening in. So that brought back memories. But also the pearls, I could just envision the ladies sitting around and they sort of having tea, but they actually went to the trouble to get dressed up a little bit to come over for tea. Whereas nowadays, even when I have friends over for tea, it's like, come as you are.
Yeah, I don't think there's an attraction that it used to be to have a cup of coffee at a house. It would make yourself look decent. Yeah, it's just part of every day.
Yeah, I mean, just look at what people wear to work now. For instance, I'm wearing jean shorts. So, but, like the Mad Men era of dressing up.
Let me tell you this
gone.
Out there in our cast public, she looks marvelous. I'm telling you, she's
not dressed
marvelous.
Up. No, so I mean, I like to use Mad Men, the series, as an example because it's such a great period piece. Never mind the whole storyline, but like they dress up for work. Everybody. It's just expected. Also, the amazing amount of alcohol and cigarettes that are consumed while at work. It's fascinating.
I noted that too. I started the program, but Eva was not interested in that. And I think she would have enjoyed it if she got past the whole, degrading elements that were degrading to women, which was like a big part of the show was about that.
Right, but that was
and that's what it was.
Time, right?
It was the time. So I think it was brilliantly done. And
I thought it was fascinating because that was our parents' generation, give or take a few years, right? So, like, that to me, I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, they were willing to put up with that, but not for long. 1970 came along, 71, 72, and the bras were burning, and the draft cards were burning, and the women were not putting up with that BS any longer. And I saw it in my own family, and things changed. And if Dad hadn't changed his perception of what marriage and relationship was about, he'd have been on the street, or we would have been out of the house. I don't know which. And so it's an important time. It was a real pivotal moment. That's why that piece that I wrote took place in that era in the 70s, because women did have a voice, and women were expressing it out in a way that was being heard. So I think it's an interesting point in history. So that's been fun, getting that kind of feedback. Thank you very much. I like that. I think we're just going to do some bubbles.
Some cleansing bubbles.
It's a cleansing bubbles, because we're going to do is it BS or not? And that's sometimes a lie, and sometimes it's not. And I have a BS, two of them, that the BS or not, and I was going to express them, but I was hoping that you had one that you wanted to express first, because
I'll give you one. So, currently, given the median house price in our state,
$469
$599.
median.
Yes.
Madonna mia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
So apparently you need to earn, if you're a single earner or whatever, your household income in order to afford that needs to be $158,000.
That's if you have a down payment of X. You have to have a down payment of 20%.
You don't have to. You can put less down and then pay for mortgage insurance.
It's $120,000 is 20% of 600, right?
Yeah, but I mean, yes. So obviously
Wow.
Is it bullshit or not? Is $158,000 the amount you need to buy the median income home in Rhode Island?
No, I think it's closer to 2.
It is 158. So it is true, but still, imagine you've just graduated from college or something, or just gotten married. Maybe you didn't go to college, whatever. Are you likely to have that kind of money?
Well, two folks, working together, that's typically when you get out of college. So 75, yeah, I mean 80, 90.
Yeah, who are you talking about? You're talking about, like, for instance, your daughters and what they're making getting out of college. But the average person is not making that kind of money.
No, true.
So
the average person is apparently not living in Rhode Island and owning their own home.
Apparently not, because they can't.
They can't. So what we're seeing is an influx of people with means that are living here and snapping up those homes at 600 and making them more expensive down the road, right? So,
yeah, I mean, there's the biggest problem really is there's just not enough inventory, because that's the solution, really. If there's enough houses for everybody, then there's affordability, because you got to give them to somebody. You got to rent them or sell them to somebody.
There was a time at which, for instance, next door to my house and the next street over was a place called Henry Drive. And that was a group of homes that all looked very similar. There might have been 30 homes in this plat. Mm-hmm. Very similar, different tweaks. The lot sizes were exactly the same, with the exception of one. And my friends lived over there, that's why I know. And this dude, he was building these things, we called him, his last name was Arena. We called him One Nail Arena, because he would put one nail in the shingle instead of two, because to lock it in, because he was so cheap. He was trying to make these things so cheap, and he built them in minutes. And they seemed to be like the new homes, everybody wanted this new home, and it was a piece of junk. But One Nail built all these homes, and but he did it on spec, meaning, as I think he did it speculation. So he knew he could probably sell these homes Why aren't there more homes being built on spec now with the median price at $600? Can't you build a house for $400,000 with the land and everything and soup to nuts and make two?
Probably. I mean, I don't know if it's a lack of lots to do it on.
That's probably it. Yeah, there's a lot of protected property, rightfully so. And there's also, I think there's a lot of what they call it, brownfield homes that are associated with the milling industry along rivers that are beautiful spaces that need to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
So if you clean them up and then build affordable housing on those properties. But what's happened to this point is those spots get cleaned up with the help of the federal government.
But then they're on a river, and
they're on a river, and they're so well liked that people just pay more for them. So that's be some.
I think we need a guest from the construction industry.
Okay, I'll get on that right away. No guest today, by the way. The Earth's natural world. This is my.
Mm-hmm.
This one. The Earth's natural world, including human beings, is definitely doomed, and will fail to exist in 1 billion years or so. Sooner, given that the sun's rays will be hot enough to boil the oceans, and the oxygen will all burn up, leaving the Earth void of life. Is it bullshit or is it not?
I think there is scientific, not evidence, but I mean, yes, the Earth is doomed, but I think it's not that the sun is going to boil the oceans. I think that our sun is just going to, go supernova or whatever suns do when they die.
No, this is true. The Earth will be deceased. It's very, very, all of this will be gone.
Yeah, I believe that part of it, but I think it's just going to be like I don't know. Is it going to be all at once? Like, I can't snap my fingers there.
No, certain bacteria will be able to survive until a certain temperature or whatever it is. But we'll get to a point where there'll be no oxygen, and I know obviously this oxygen is critical. Photosynthesis will not exist any longer, and there may be something that survives on sulfur or something like that might last a little longer, but it'll become impossible for it to continue at some point. 1 billion years, they said. That is true. Okay, here's another one. Do you have another one?
Nope.
Scientists at the Aeronautics and Space Center that are fed up with the federal government's recent cuts to science, technology, and education, including the so-called STEAM, or STEM education programs, which have been designed to foster inclusion in education, have developed a new business model that includes providing a service to citizens of the Earth to send their personal knowledge, digital scrapbooks, technologically stored data, including personal electronically stored information about the prospective customer's life and accomplishments, with the intent to send these items into space for potential alien retrieval in deep space. Mark Lemieux, co-founder of SFU WFG Knowledge Distribution Corporation, states, if the federal government here in the United States of America and in other authoritarian governments around the world want to dumb us down, fight back. Let your story be heard by those we all know exist out there in the universe. Call now for a free consultation. You have only your dignity, heritage, intellect, integrity, artistic center, freedom of thought, and psychological well-being to lose if you don't join us on this journey. Contact us at our website, www.sfuwfg@yourtimemay.com. yourtimemaycome.com.
Just what we need, more space trash.
Oh, that's harsh. Mr. Lemieux will certainly contact us via our email.
Was this a bullshit thing or was this a commercial?
This was bullshit. It's all bullshit. That was bullshit. And I will say this. If there are those out there that want to create this business, have at it. I don't think it's space trash. I think people should have the right to send
their trash
messages
into space.
It's not trash. This is data that's collected. This is that poem I may have written. Perhaps that would be one that I would want to send. Maybe not. That tells others of us, because 1 billion years from now, that we won't exist. Well, we may not exist.
Sooner than that.
Sooner than that. Let's just say that. There you have that. Oh, it's time now to pay the bills. We have our commercials, and they go as follows. Gene's Arbitration Services. We provide in-home arbitration to solve the everyday issues that come between family members, spouses, and between seasonal visitors and their hosts. Call Gene for a free quote now. He didn't leave a number. Gene, what are you doing? Contact us at www.katunkwitchronicles@gmail.com, and we will get the message to you about Gene's phone number. So Gene's Arbitration Services. Would this be something that you could use with Stuart and Ricky at home, or perhaps with your family members?
I think we can manage on our own, but I will keep this in mind.
Gene's pretty good. I haven't actually experienced this, but others have told me. Gene gets in there and has a solution. Some people don't like these solutions, but... Okay, so here's a long acronym. The OTCCMTAOWR, the organization to change Katunkwit, Maine to a one-way road, will meet at the Veterans Square to protest the narrow roadway that Katunkwit, Maine has become. Did the roadway change size? No.
No.
Just too much parking, right? Agenda includes the following. A, Harris Allweather's Road Report. B, Jane Bartley's report on the number of mirrors smashed last year alone. C, Artie Hamilton will report on the striped bass fishing last week as an added bonus. D, Councilman Jake Coldwater will speak about off-Katunkwit Main Street parking areas and potential areas including and not limited to, number 1, schools. Number 2, library. Number 3, fishing pier, and even unused sections of the historic cemetery. At homes with parking spaces whereby the owners only visit seasonally, some only 2 weeks of the year. That's a good idea. 6, shuttle service from the beach during off-season periods. Should be doing that. Although, during off-season periods, there's the parking issue.
Here you can park.
But there won't be if they take one lane of the parking away and make it a one-way road.
No, but the parking at the beach is not part of the lane. It's a separate.
True. So maybe that sucks. Provide permits. This is one I kind of interested in. Provide permits in Katunkwit Center adjacent residential areas for paid parking at nearby homes. Arrive early. Oh, it says arrive early. The seats are limited to 56. Well, that's just 56 chairs out there. I'm sure at the Veterans Square you can, figure it out. Get out there and stand, I think.
See, if we encouraged more biking, we wouldn't have this parking problem.
True. I think so there you go with the biking again, and I agree wholeheartedly. What's going on with the proposals that you've identified to cross that area that where the water comes up? regularly, and we have to.
At the creek?
Yeah, the creek.
Well, I mean, that's in the state hands because it's a state road.
I know, but what, like, do they have any proposal to get people across with bicycles?
No, they keep ignoring that, so we have to keep pushing back on them and say, whatever you decide, whatever design you guys finally decide on must include bike and pedestrian access.
Would it be a problem if we put a floating dock, not dock, but like floating dock-like thing across the marsh and then into the creek? The water would still flow, but people on bicycles alone only could go across. And at low tide, they'd be just crossing and then climbing up the area. What do you think of that idea?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere in the world somebody's got a whole floating system that even the cars go on. But that would be very progressive for our Department of Transportation.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so home garden sharing center dates. I love it. Tuesday, August 12th, Tuesday, August 19th, Tuesday the 26th, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. at the Baptist Church. Bring a tomato and get a peach. Share your produce with others. Taste a different tomato. Share your spuds. Flower your sunflowers. Trade your hemp. Come one, come all to the HGSC and meet a friend that cares. HGSC, that's the Home Garden Sharing Center, is a not-for-profit sharing center. It's unaffiliated with the Katunkwit Baptist Church, its members, or Baptist affiliates. Now, they had to put that in there for a reason. I think it's because not everybody has the same standards for growing, right? Maybe some are growing on.
Do you think that there'll be an abundance of zucchini at this sharing?
Yeah, but they're different sizes and tastes. Zucchini has no taste.
Yeah, exactly. It has no taste.
I think we should bring, if you're bringing zucchini, this is an announcement, it has to be cooked and in a different manner with lots of flavor. But I make a nice zucchini, stuffed zucchini. So what's on the list now that I have to bring for you?
No, you
Chicken
can skip
pie.
the stuff.
Oh, you don't like? Okay, never mind. The zucchini bread's good.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of the making that. I've got to make the chicken for you again. I've told you this before, and then I owe Stuart something. I owe him corned beef. Candy Cane's Fine Arts welcomes all to their open reception at the Plein Air Gallery behind Candy Cane's house, abutting the historic cemetery. That's Kane. Her parents apparently weren't crazy, but participating plein air artists, sculptors, and digital outdoor artisans encourage you to bring an umbrella, a raincoat, and attend our first viewing at 27 Thimble Street, across from the library. The opening starts at 6 p.m. and will run until the keg runs dry, says Horace Kane, Candy's 96-year-old father, who I can attest to is not crazy, as I suggested before. Join us Friday, August 29th for some good old plain, P-L-E-I-N, fun. Horace encourages you to not bring children or pets, as some of the digital art requires electrical current and can be dangerous in wet conditions. Well, there's a warning for us. Good old Horace, 96. He's got his daughter out there making art, whatever she's doing, it's great stuff. And there we have our commercials for this time. Do you have one you wanted to add? Do you have any additional comments?
No, I do not.
Apparently you don't know Horace. Like I know Horace. You'd have a comment. So we're back, and everything has been eliminated as it needed to be, given the age of my prostate, apparently, or the size of my bladder, whichever it might be. But I don't have that to worry about any longer. I was thinking, as I was just in the hallway there, that this place really does need air conditioning. Because
As the sweat runs down our foreheads.
It's cool. It's cooler than normal here in this room today. At probably 85 or 88. However, the rest of the school's not that cool. It's pretty warm out there too. So I don't know how do children really learn without, I guess they did for eons. They just dealt with it.
Also, I mean, it is summer, so there aren't any children here.
Yeah, some are here and some are there. All right, so I have a story for us today that's entitled "A Bonfire of the Soul," and you're aware that at many points in my life I was a soccer coach, fisherman, but I was also a parks and recreation professional for a period of 11 years, various places. And parks really interests me because I thought it was like a place where you can make a big difference. And of course, children and making a difference in their lives and keeping adults active was also rewarding work. But it was more rewarding for me to get in there and take something that wasn't revered and turn it into a park where people could really enjoy it. And I enjoyed that very much too. And the events that are associated with those places, right? So in this case, a bonfire, which everyone enjoyed. Now, bonfires have come out of favor of late, right? Given that they're putting a significant amount of carbon into the atmosphere. One of the places where I was involved in a bonfire, we renewed the whole concept, was December 31st in the town of Charlestown. A very generous guy who donated 2 weeks of his time each week. He was a builder. And he would build the most elaborate, beautiful structures. He built a Boeing 757 it was beautiful. And he built a Swiss chalet from pallets, and then he'd burn it. He would burn it on that night. But it would put a lot of heat and bad stuff into the atmosphere. So there's double-edged sword on that. However, that's not what this story is about. It's called A Bonfire of the Soul. Every bonfire here at Fort Perry in Katunkwit is essentially a bonfire of the soul, Eddie Gray announces, almost singing from atop the pile of wooden pallets where he places the last half pallet atop Fort Perry Hill, which overlooks the bridge expanse all the way down to the entrance to Narragansett Bay. Eddie can see all the way to Rhode Island Sound, and he can even identify a slight glimmer of light flickering from Block Island's north light in the distance when he squints. It's not steady up there, Eddie. I'm not sure this isn't an OSHA-approved activity. Town manager Dalton Roberts yells from the base of the pile. Does the town of Katunkwit have a crane, Mr. Roberts? I could use a crane. Otherwise, it's not an OSHA-approved activity. You got that right? Eddie says sarcastically. Don't worry. I've been called Steady Eddie my whole life. He laughs, but his voice shakes, and Eddie clears his throat. He's clearly sure that those beneath him will hear the fear and the crackling of his voice or see his tears. He's scared, but it isn't from the extraordinary height of the pile of pallets. Eddie takes a deep breath through his mouth and then blows out through his nose as the pallet beneath his right foot shifts slightly. And many others creak loudly. Those beneath him gasp in unison. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's the last pallet. Get down, Roberts calls out to Eddie, reaching up high with his voice like a singer. Mr. Gray, Parks Supervisor Extraordinaire, you're almost 30 feet off the ground. Get down. Gonna take a minute and look around, Eddie says loudly, but he looks down and suddenly can envision himself diving from the top of this heap. He thinks of his wife Althena's words before he left this morning for work. She said, "Don't count on me being here when you get back from work tonight. I'm done." Eddie wipes away a tear with the back of his dirty hand, trying not to smudge his face with his dirty pallet wood stained palms. "I mean it. I don't want you up there, Eddie," Roberts insists. I hear you, boss, but the view. Oh, man. The seascapes from here. Tremendous. I want to be buried here when time comes," Eddie calls out, almost as a poet might recite a poem. I need some of your time this afternoon to discuss your budget proposal. It's a ground-level discussion in my office," Roberts proposes. Boat's on fire off Plum Beach. Radio that in, would you, boss?" Eddie says, almost too calmly, almost like Captain Quint after the first shark attack and then knocking over a lantern aboard the wooden boat Orca when it starts a fire. Seems they've abandoned the ship off the port side. On the ocean side, Mr. Roberts," Eddie yells down from his perch. For a split second, he wondered where Althena would go with her lover. He does have a small cabin boat, and I think he's a part owner of a sailboat, Eddie thought as he watched the struggling boaters nearly a mile away. "What? A boat's on fire? Oh, stay right there. I'll call it in," Roberts calls up to Eddie. Oh, typical boss. First he wants me to come down. Then he wants me to stay up here, Eddie says quietly as another pallet shifts beneath him. "Chief wants to know how far off Plum Beach, Eddie," Robert asks as a crowd of 5 people gather at the base of a pallet pile, seemingly waiting for Eddie to jump, almost urging some action. Summers are quiet in Catunquit, and winters are desolate, completely void of action. Winters on an island brings out the worst and the best of people, Eddie thought to himself. Wednesday Night Live at the Catunquit Cafe every 3rd Wednesday of the month brings out a couple of 100 people in the winter, Eddie thought, mouthing the words silently atop his loosely created pallet pile. He saw that as evidence of the desolate nature of Catunquit. Eddie looks towards town, out east of Fort Perry, as the first fire engines blare from their home base, towing the fireboat as rescues follow. Eddie notices it's low tide and mumbles to himself, "It's gonna be a bitch getting that boat in at low tide. There's no water in Coyote Cove come low tide." Then he thought, that boyfriend is suspect that she's dating, Tim Tolman. He's a volunteer for Catunquit firefighter. He'll probably be on the fireboat. Probably Althena, too, Eddie mumbles from atop the stand of the loose pallets. "See anything more?" Roberts asks as wind begins to pick up speed, shifting the pile further. scaring Eddie even more. Whoa, 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 that's quite enough of that, Eddie says through clenched teeth as he puts some weight on the wooden structure below the pallets closest to the top. I should have stacked these tight this year. Kind of just dumped the pallets from the John Deere 710 all willy-nilly, Eddie calls out to whoever will listen below. Chief wants to know their distance off Plum Point. What color smoke you're seeing? Roberts asked. It must be an oil fire, but it also seems like the gunnels are burning. It's got to be real hot for fiberglass to burn. Color, Eddie. Color. Chief wants color. Black with billows of white smoke within the black puffs. Tell him to get over here and climb this pile to see for himself, Eddie reports sarcastically. Roberts reports to the chief and then says, Chief says to get down, Eddie. Don't need 2 rescues today. Robert relays. Eddie reflects on turning 40 last week. Wonders where the time has gone as his once strong legs shake in their locked positions. It was also their wedding anniversary. Of course, Althena's decision to get married on his birthday back when they were engaged and in love and planning a wedding date. She chose to marry on his birthday and to give herself to Eddie as her birthday present to him. When Eddie showed up at home on his birthday this year, 10 years later, with an anniversary cake from wheat and barley made by the owner's sister-in-law, who's named Crystal, who makes the best cakes in America. Althena was out again. This made 5 of 7 nights gone. Months of the shit for about a year. Eddie throws all $45 worth of death by chocolate in the trash without even tasting it. Then noticed Althena's letter, and threw the neatly handwritten note with her first words written in capital letters with thick Sharpie on the envelope. Goodbye, Eddie. I'm leaving you. He put it in the trash and headed to the Tunquid Cafe to watch the Red Sox from the corner table near the waitress station that they never use on a slow Wednesday night. He'd sip on a glass of soda water and cranberry juice that would become salted with real tears, till closing at midnight. Worst thing is, he knows the lover. Not a friend, but kind of a guy that he knows from living in a small town. Guy's friendly. Well, always friendly when he and Althena come uptown on Saturday morning, because she insists she can't make coffee right anymore. Eddie's crying atop the pile uncontrollably. He can't stop the flow of tears. His voice cracks and his nose is running, so his words seem like they're coming from a tunnel as he speaks. A boat's picking up the people in the water. It doesn't seem like there's anyone hurt, but it's a long way over to Plum Point from here. He collects himself and shakes his head as if Whitefish Beach in the waves, and he's a whitefish. He's at Whitefish Beach in the waves, and he's trying to remove the water from his ears. Oh, a dog. Small dog with a life jacket. All are safe, Eddie reports from above as he faces the structures and takes one tiny step down, applying pressure and testing what's below with this one movement. And then after only one step, he stops. His grip tightens, and he shakes the top pallet as he tries to calm himself. But now, almost paralyzed, he suddenly can't move. Robert calls out, questioning, "You stuck?" Eddie doesn't answer. A concerned crowd of citizens, including Edith and her daughter from the RV park, mostly summer folks from the RV campground, gather beneath the bonfire pile of pallets, all looking up. Eddie can see their questioning eyes, mostly Edith's questioning eyes. He feels their anticipated neck pain. The neck pain he experiences every winter when it's colder than fuck out here on this island with northwest winds blowing across icy waters. Eddie notices summertime south wind quickening as it comes closer to 1 o'clock, when the wind is sure to find its way up Narragansett Bay and across Catunkwitt's Fort Perry. He looks down to see beneath him only a massive pile of envelopes with sharply black letters. It's as if he's standing on a pile of Althena's sharply printed goodbye letters. It's all gonna blow away. It's all gonna blow away, he yells down at the crowd beneath him. Can we get some help up here on Fort Perry? Need some professional help. The crowd is too close to the bonfire. It's too close to the bonfire pile. Sutton Roberts relays on his handheld radio to the police dispatcher. Fire trucks and ambulances bounce past on Lower Campground Road, towing Catunkwitt's fire and rescue boat. Eddie isn't sure, but he thinks he sees Althena in the front seat of the rescue truck, and her man in the cab of the pumper truck as they pass. A single police cruiser peels off spinning tires in the clamshell driveway over the gravel bankment, speeding up the hill to the base of the bonfire. Stopping short, Eddie almost falls as the car comes to within a few feet of hitting the loose structure at its base. He loses his balance again and catches himself without falling. Bonfire's not safe. We're going to need police presence here today to keep the public away, Town Manager Roberts tells Jerry Crossman, the cop. Not going to happen, Crossman responds. I'll talk to the chief, Roberts responds immediately. It's not in the union contract. It'll have to be a full detail. It's an emergency, for Christ's sake, Roberts reasons. Now that's a true emergency, Crossman says while pointing at the rescue fireboat stuck on the trailer in the mud at the base of the boat ramp mired in low tide. Why's Eddie on the burn pile? Eddie, what are you doing on the burn pile? Doesn't look steady up there, Eddie, Crossman says, noticing he made a rhyme. He's stuck, Robert says while huffing loudly as he speaks. Now that's an emergency. Crossman places his chin on his shoulder and radios the dispatcher. Seems Eddie Gray's stuck up top the bonfire pile, needs a ladder truck to get him down, Crossman speaks to the dispatcher. Eddie closes his eyes to stop spinning, but it only worsens. With his legs locked for so long, his quadriceps are cramping, and he cries out in pain as he opens his eyes. You all right, Eddie? Crossman calls out. Eddie doesn't answer. He can't move. He seems to be stuck. He's not talking anymore, Robert says to Crossman. Crossman leans into his shoulder again. We've got a potential 1056A here. Fort Perry Hill at the bonfire site. Need assistance immediately. He finishes, and a squawking begins, including unintelligible, garbled static that Crossman listens to intently. On that crowd control thing, union rules, Mr. Town Manager, union rule 77.50 per hour, 4 hours minimum with double time, anything over 8 hours. It's in the contract. Crossman removes a bullhorn from the back seat of the cruiser. Get back 200 yards at the edge. Yes, over there near the bushes. Careful of poison ivy. Stay in the grass. Watch for ticks. 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 Poison ivy. Althena, what the fuck were you doing? Eddie thinks while shaking his head imperceptibly to anyone below as he sees the Coast Guard fire suppression boat pouring 1,000,000 gallons of water on the once burning boat. It's certainly total to the waterline. Katunkwit's first responders at the boat ramp point and gather their gear as the once mired fireboat drips seawater on the ramp. Eddie can see Althea and Tim talking in the distance. Tim's right hand points towards Plum Point as the Coast Guard attaches a line to what's left of the boat. 1056A in progress, Fort Berry Hill, all units respond. The message comes over all of the responding units in the area, including the fire trucks, cop cars, ambulances, projecting through the campground. Eddie sees Althea return to her ambulance as the vehicle speeds towards Fort Perry Hill. Some of the people watching from the brush line near the overlook area mouth the words 1056A in progress as they shake their heads and ask one another what the phrase means. Proceed with caution quietly, the dispatcher calls out as the fire engines and ambulances stream blue light and their horns blare loudly up the base of the hill. Eddie can feel his legs again. The cramps have ceased, and he adjusts his footing slightly, but his only move shifts the pallet beneath him, which seems to be rocking slightly. I'm not paying for a detail, Robert says to Crossman quietly. You get a bullhorn and me up here as long as Eddie's up there. That's what you get, Crossman says while pointing with his bullhorn at Eddie, teetering atop the pile. He can hear you. Are you aware that he can hear all of this discussion? I mean, the man's in peril. The campground manager, Goody Duncans, whispers loudly, yet respectfully, while walking hurriedly up the last few yards of Fort Berry Hill. She carries a handheld radio in her hand at ear height, as if confused as to how it worked, sometimes staring at it, and not noticing that the dispatcher had connected all conversations related to Fort Berry Hill matter to all the radios in the police, fire, and ambulance responder group. So Goody Duncan's insistence that Crossman and Roberts be aware that Eddie can hear them was well known by all, including Eddie. We have anybody on the 1056A team versed in negotiation? The voice of assistant to the assistant chief Rowdy, Stanton, calls out. I thought you were fishing today. You're fishing the tuna offshore, right? Crossman reveals. I am, Rowdy responds. Get anything yet? Crossman asks. The dispatcher calls out quickly, interrupting the conversation. Can we keep this channel professional? All dispatches will, from this point going forward, be restricted on individual call-based only. Ricky took that last 1056 over the bridge with that jumper last Christmas, didn't he? Rowdy asks as his dispatch comes through clearly on Crossman's radio. I don't know, Crossman says. How bad is he? Rowdy asks. I don't know what's wrong with him. Damn fool if you ask me, Crossman responds. For Christ's sake, Jerry, could you please show some compassion? Rowdy responds, while the words can be heard in the background. Fish on! Fish on! Fish on! Fish on! You got this, Jerry, right? You got it? You got this? 10-4, Rowdy's out. The radio goes blank. The wind picks up, and the top third of pallets near the narrow top swing in the wind, swirling Eddie in an almost parabolic fashion. Eddie vomits on his shirt, pants, and beneath himself to his work boots, which become strewn with bits of egg special and a side of grits eaten earlier that morning at Calhoun's Diner off Island. Ah! Some of the members of the crowd gasp aloud as one person calls out, "Oh, this is way too gross for me." Eddie nods his head at the young girl, almost agreeing. Her mother, Edith Corcoran, an almost recently divorced resident of Kentucky that lives in the campground during the summer months, looks on concerned. Edith rents her house to rich people from New York City each year for $45,000 a season to help pay her single mom bills. She holds on to her daughter while looking at Eddie swaying precariously atop tonight's campground entertainment in the 20-mile-per-hour southwest winds. Eddie's always treated Edith extra special, weed-whacking her trailer spot just as she liked it each week. And he even brought her extra clams and fish whenever he could extend his good fortune to Edith, who he knows needs the help. Edith calls out, "Eddie, it's me, Edith. You know Edith Corcoran? Spot number 44? Don't move, Eddie. Help is on the way." She says this as she moves forward near the base of the pallet pile, with her daughter held tightly against her as if tethered in a potato sack race. Eddie looks down at Edith beneath him, then looks up at the ground and seems to swirl counterclockwise through the increasing parabolic motion at the top of the pile. "You okay?" he asks Edith with sincere concern, as he always does. "Ma'am, you're going to have to get back and leave this to the negotiating team of professionals," Crossman says to Edith. "Negotiating team? I don't see a negotiation team," Edith responds. She seems to be the only responding civilian negotiating team member able to get here in a timely manner, Officer Crossman. I'll take care of your daughter, Mrs. Corcoran," Town Manager Roberts declares. Eddie sees Althena struggling as she climbs the hill, hurriedly with a heavy medical kit in her large case. We'll get you down, Eddie. Don't worry," Althena announces with conviction. Dalton Roberts steps in and stops Althena from proceeding, saying quietly, "Althena, we have someone helping out here, talking to him, so let's slow play this situation, okay? You may be too close to the situation to help." Eddie yells, "Get her out! Get her out of here! Get her out! Get her out!" A gust of wind pushes the pile in circles at the top of the bonfire. Several pallets near the middle of the stack loosen themselves with the movement and roll awkwardly to the base. Oh, shit. "I'll step out then. Of course, I'll just step out. I understand," Edith says while backing away 3 or 4 steps. "I'm his wife," Althena says weakly and without conviction as Tim Tolman wanders up with his brows so furrowed it looks like his head is imploding. "One arbiter only." And I know I read that somewhere, Crossman says officiously. A ladder truck crawls up Fort Perry Hill as if a giant red bug, its giant ladder extending out oddly while the truck is underway. Edith looks back to be assured that her daughter is safe and with Dalton Roberts, and crawls up on the first layer of wooden pallets to speak with Eddie. Don't come any closer, Edith. It's not stable." "I'm okay. Are you okay, Eddie?" she asks as she climbs up further Her strong legs and toned arms seem suited for climbing as she moves beyond the first level of pallets that loosely form a base for the bonfire. Careful. You can lose yourself in that pile of pallets. You could lose everything. You could lose your soul. God doesn't take stupid folks like me. I'm likely going to hell for this move, Eddie says, almost laughing awkwardly, as he doesn't really believe what he's saying. I don't have any intention of losing anything, Eddie. Today's just part of life. It isn't it. It's not everything. Some things go to shit. And you wonder why, and you can't really pinpoint why. That's life, Eddie says as she's climbing on the steadier south side of the bonfire. She slows her accent when the swirling becomes noticeable at her level too. Not so steady up here when you get closer to the top. Nothing's for sure. Nothing's really very steady. You're doing fine, Eddie. Just fine. And we're going to get out of this situation, aren't we? She says assuredly, in a caring manner. And Eddie realizes something in that split second. Something he hadn't really noticed about Edith. About the fish and the clams that he brought to her, about the way he tended to her grass at site number 44, and about the way he fixed whatever Edith needed fixing over the past 4 years during her rental at the campground, ever since her husband left her. Eddie looks down at her curiously. His head shakes back and forth as if saying, No. But he's truly understanding for the first time since his birthday last week. Things they might be okay if he lives, if he doesn't jump, and if this all doesn't just collapse. Eddie, listen to me. Don't move. Don't try to get down. The ladder's nearing the top where you're, right where you are, like right from behind. You can't see it. Just wait. Stop trying to step down. Stop it, Edith yells adamantly. But Edith, I know how it is now. I can see it. It's you. You are to be with me. We can do this together, Eddie calls out to Edith convincingly while simultaneously stepping on a loose pallet as a sudden heavy wind gust sends the pallet pile careening down to the north side of the bonfire site, landing atop Eddie. Edith becomes stuck on the south side between 6 pallets, corralling her from all sides up to her waist, as she continually cries out in pain, yet alternatingly calling Eddie's name. Edith's daughter breaks the grasp of Dalton Roberts and rushes to the base of the pile, reaching out desperately to her mother with both arms. Edith calls out, Eddie! 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 Firefighters work to secure the pile quickly, pull back 30 or more pallets before they find Eddie's body, lying atop a grassy spot. His right arm above his head and the index finger almost as if he was making a point at the diner with his buddies or something. The Katunkwit Times photo caption suggested that it appeared as if Eddie Gray, park superintendent for the town of Katunkwit, remained dedicated to his very last moments while still alive to Fort Perry Park and the citizens of Katunkwit. Edith knows deep in her heart that through Eddie's generosity that she and Eddie had for the past 4 years shared something between each other, and that it wasn't until their very last moments together that he also knew. The article from the Katunkwit Press reads, First responders tried without success to revive Mr. Gray, but the weight of the pallets crushed his chest. One eyewitness, Miss Edith Corcoran, who tried desperately to encourage Mr. Gray to wait for help, even climbing on the shaky structure while risking her own life, said, It was a bonfire of the soul that burns bright and continues to burn, even though this bonfire, not yet lit, stopped Eddie Gray's generous heart. The end.
I thought that he was climbing up there just arranging things and that everybody else assumed that he was suicidal and not that he actually went up there with that intention. Was I mistaken?
Well, sometimes people might take a risk that they normally wouldn't take when they are feeling that loss, grief, or their life might be in a place that they didn't anticipate or didn't want.
That reminds me of that Ricky Gervais show, Afterlife. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where he's just kind of like,
he's taking
I don't
all
care,
this.
so I'll do whatever I want.
And, he didn't have to be on the top of this, putting the last pallet on the top of this 30-plus foot pile on a windy day, or what became a windy day. You have other questions?
No, that was my big question.
Okay. But it's a story, about a heart, too, right? And two hearts, really. 4, ultimately, because Althena and Tom come into play. It comes 5, really, if you think about the daughter of Edith. And just this kindness that Eddie provided probably everyone in the campground, however, a little extra for Edith, because subliminally perhaps he knew that he loved her in some way, or there was a caring there.
Or she needed more attention.
True, and she was in a vulnerable place, right? So she was certainly not amused, wrong word, but appreciative of the help. She has to rent her house so that she can live, with in the summer place, which some people do, by the way, and Katunkwit. So but it's also about Eddie, right? So Eddie gives everything he has to the community. And recently, in the next town over, in Jamestown, there was a loss of I can use his name as well-known Park Superintendent Ron Parfit, who he didn't have any of these qualities that Eddie had, but he lost his life, and he's well revered. And I'm talking about providing some sort of memorial to him at his favorite place and in town, one of his favorite parks. So I think that probably prompted the story about a park superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not his story, of course. But there is a mention of this love at the end, and this caring for the park and caring for the people in the community, and that's what park superintendents do. Is we had this little discussion before about my experience as a parks director, and it really provided me opportunity to interact with people, make something where there may have not been a park before, or may have not been quality of a path or whatever it might be. And you really do make a difference for people that can get out and appreciate nature in a different way, and safely, of course. And it was rewarding work. I did some of that, and I like the parks element of it as well. as working directly with a recreation element. Because, when you're working with people, something, it's a little trickier than providing park spaces and making sure that they're safe. So I did enjoy all of it, but the story's dear to me because I've experienced some of it, and so next time that we have a bonfire in Katunkwit, we have to be careful not to lose anyone in the process and make sure that the pallets are stacked safely.
Always a good idea.
Always a good idea. And that there be professional fire personnel on site to take care of this. And I think also that comes out in this piece is that the professionals that are involved in day-to-day, perhaps police activities or work, not accustomed necessarily to having somebody with emotional problems. And I harken back to some people that have been, even shot or abused in the process, not here in Katunkwit, but in other parts of the country, where there's a misperception as to the danger level, and that these people maybe having mental health issues and have a history of mental health issues, and it's not always this understandable situation. And I empathize with the police because they have difficult decisions to make all the time, and sometimes those decisions are poor, of course, but when we think about it, we have to be, would you ever want to be in that position? You had to make those kinds of decisions about the safety of others or your safety of yourself. So that's a tough spot that police officers and even first responders are placed in. And everything doesn't go right? So sometimes it's low tide and you can't get the boat in. And that's something that we in Katunkwit know quite well. We need to change that if we have any foresight, because we need to have access to the ocean, and we definitely need boat ramps that work all times, including in emergency situations. So I'm reaching out to those in Katunkwit that are in responsible positions and say, listen, let's get this figured out. So there's a little more to the story if you think about it.
So there was a little dig at the Fort Perry boat ramp, is what you're saying?
Yeah, there's a little bit of Fort Perry boat ramp reconsideration that needs to be done. We have to look at that more closely and see where we can get some deeper water, because there are issues that happen on the west side of the island of Katunkwit that I don't think that they should be placing a boat in the water on the opposite side of the island in that event. But of course, we have a boat in the water on that side. And we have one here, but it's not a pumper. We have a situation where there's a fire. Of course, the Coast Guard is fairly quick to get there, right? And then there are other communities too that can address these issues. But our volunteer group is fantastic, and they have good equipment, but we maybe don't have access to a ramp that's suitable at a low tide or even mid tide for a boat of that size. What do you think?
So, do we have a boat that is even ready to go in the water, regardless of the state of the ramp?
I am not certain of that.
If we don't, then there's no big deal about the ramp.
Well, there are other people that get stuck on that ramp,
including
me.
Yeah, but that's recreational.
True. Well, I guess we can't throw an emergency at that and say, well, yeah. There are other ways to address emergency situations, but just a thought. Throwing it out there.
Yep.
And that is the west side of the island, so we do know our direction. So do you have anything you wanted to express at the conclusion of our day?
No. I'm happy it's not scorching hot today.
True.
And, that's about it for today.
Thanks so much for being here with me, Ashlyn Kamork. Once again, we're at episode number 51. We've done this a number of times. I think you've been here for 44, 45 of those episodes. And the listening public and myself are very appreciative of that. We'd like to thank the University of Rhode Island and their launch lab, particularly Brian Smith, who has helped us with engineering, with promotion, with encouragement, too.
Mm-hmm. So many things.
Brian's a great person. Also like to remind you, the next town over in Jamestown, on September 24th, at the Narragansett Cafe, yours truly, will be there as MC for an open mic night, Wednesday the 24th, 8 to whenever we're finished. And we have a lot of talent in the area, so if you have a music or you have something that you want to express, poetry or short fiction or a skit that you want to put together, comedy, juggling, if you want to play your fiddle, come on down, sign up early at 7:30, and we'd love to see you. It's going to be fun, September 24th, and thereafter every third Wednesday of the month. So join us for Wednesday Night Live at the Ganny.
I'll be there.
I'm looking forward to you being there. Great. Good news. I'm doing a lot of riding. I hope you don't fall while you're riding. That would be terrible. I don't want you to fall.
I fall off my mountain bike all the time.
Please don't fall. There's no money in falling.
Probably not, unless it gets caught on film.
See you later.
Bye-bye.